Welcome to the SimTech podcast, where we explore the world of clinical simulation, the technology behind it, and the people driving innovation. Today I'm joined by Ambyr, a simulation technician from Ireland who has created the ABC Guide, a best practice framework for getting started with animal and biological component simulation. We'll be discussing how to approach this type of simulation responsibly, the key challenges and the ethical considerations, and how the ABC Guide can support SimTechs and educators. Well, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the SimTech podcast. Today we're going to be jumping back into the community to meet one of our guests from overseas. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Ambyr Reid. I'm a simulation technician for the Irish Centre for Applied Patient Safety and Simulation. We're joined to the University of Galway all the way over in Ireland.
Welcome, and a lovely accent you've got as well.
Oh, thank you.
How long have you been teching?
I first kind of started in around 2019, just in the kind of middle of July, and I hadn't intended to become a simulation technician. My sister was working in ICAPS at the time, and they kind of wanted a bit of help with, say, stock take, some paperwork, computer bits, things like that. And I was working on a farm at the time, so I had a bit of extra time that I could come up and do it. So went up, did a few weeks of kind of tidying stuff up, stocking shelves, making sure we had enough consumables for the year. And kind of just went from there. I got asked to do a few more bits and pieces of jobs, like voicing the mannequin, learning how to do the setup, changing over scenarios in between. And then I was doing that maybe, a couple of days a month up until COVID hit, to be honest. And I had learned to kind of teach some of the skills like cannulation and taking blood cultures and stuff like that. And I'd started to help out at some of the sessions with that. When COVID hit then over here, everything, as you know, went into lockdown. But the kind of healthcare system had to speed things up in terms of getting new interns on board and into the hospital. So that's when my experience really kind of started to kick in for me, where I was now a full-time member of the ICAPS team, helping to teach skills, run simulation for possibly 150 new incoming doctors to get them trained up and get them safe and ready to be on the wards. And just went from there really then. I ended up completing a postgrad diploma in healthcare simulation and patient safety, hoping to do my master's this coming September in it. And yeah, I've just built up as much experience and everything as I could going along, making sure that I got some kind of experience in all the different aspects of healthcare simulation, so surgical skills, the kind of
That's
medical
a bit of a
team.
whirlwind for you there, isn't it?
Yeah,
You've
it's like,
you seem like you've come such a long way in such a short time, and for
yeah,
maybe
and
a bit of a
not
turbulent
something like
pressures.
I ever would have imagined either, do you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
Would Amber 10 years ago ever thought you'd be here?
yeah, absolutely not. I had been working, as I
This
said, on
this
a
echoes
farm.
throughout all techs, really. I don't think
Yeah,
anyone ever left school thinking, you know what, I'm going to be a sim tech. It just doesn't happen.
no,
We all find it
because,
through weird and
yeah,
marvelous
it's not
means.
really a job that you would know exists either. Do you know?
No,
Like, I never would have heard of it. And even now, when people say, "What do you do?" like, it takes you a few seconds to like, well, where do I even start?
yeah. I had a podcast with my wife, and I've been doing this for a while now, but she still really doesn't know what I do. Mainly because it's probably my fault. I don't really explain it very well to them,
Yeah.
and I don't want to say I'm embarrassed that I play with dolls for a living, but it's just a little bit awkward. People don't understand how deep this rabbit hole really goes, do
Yeah,
they?
yeah. And I
Until
think
you're in it.
depending on where you are as well, like the role of the simulation technician is very different on every different site as well.
Mhm.
So, like, for me, like, I would be teaching skills, I would be running the simulations, I help develop the scenarios. As I said, I develop the new mannequins and stuff, but I know other simulation technicians, they mightn't have a role as much when it comes to teaching. and they might have more of a role when it comes to kind of, say, the research side of things. Or some of them, I wouldn't do a huge amount of like the debriefing side of things, but I know some of them then would be heavily involved in the debrief. So it seems to vary an awful lot as well,
Oh
depending
yeah, it
on
does.
your
Yeah, I
centre.
mean, I've spoke to techs that are like, I just do the tech, I don't do acting, and then I've
Yeah,
spoke to techs that are like, I love to do the acting.
yeah,
I
yeah,
do acting as much as I can, and then yeah,
yeah,
we spoke to people that you go, oh, yeah, I do a bit of debriefing, that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think there's, like you say, it's so varied. But that's what appeals to people, doesn't it? Is that
yeah.
no day is the same.
That's exactly it. Like that's why I love the job so much. Like it's, as you said,
Mm,
no 2 days are the same. There's always something different. There's always something to fix. There's
yeah.
always something that you can improve on. It's not a job that you could ever get bored in, or like
So
it's not
you
something that
said
ever comes monotonous.
you came from a farm. So what was you
Yeah.
doing on the farm?
Well, I have kind of a small farm myself. It's more of a hobby farm than anything else because, as me and my mum do say, we're probably the worst farmers in the world. All of my sheep are named. They all come up to be petted.
Oh,
Same
that's
with the
slightly
horses,
awkward.
all that kind of thing. I find it very hard to sell any of the lambs when it comes to lambing
So you're
time.
not a farmer. You're a zoo. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, or as we like to say, we're like a nursing home. Because inevitably, usually the ones we end up keeping is because we feel sorry for them because
Mm.
they're blind in one eye, or they've like a leg missing or something like that. But no, and I did what we call a green cert over here in Ireland. So that's what I had originally done in college, which is basically it's kind of like a qualification basically to farm, and so that you can get grants and things like that. But as part of it, we had to work on someone else's farm for 12 weeks in the first year, and then 16 weeks in the second year. And I ended up leaving my part-time job in a pharmacy to work pretty much full-time with the host family that I got, because I just really loved it, and then B, the family that I was with, they were just so nice to me, and they were really, really good for helping me get experience on the farm and stuff like that. And I was treated as one of their own as well while I was there, so we got a really, really good relationship with them, and I'm still in contact with them now. So I was working there with them for about 3 years, and it was a big enough farm. There was, about 200, 250 sheep on it, and there was about 300 cattle as well. So like that, there was never, 2 days the same. There was always something busy, always something to fix.
Well,
But
I'm
yeah,
trying to
it was.
think about. I mean, what kind of transferable skills did you bring into being something what's more technical? Is there
Yeah,
much out there in? I don't want to say
yeah.
farm
Well, you'd be
simulation.
surprised, like with the overlapping, because when I was doing my diploma, I usually used to do my assignments like 50% farming based simulation, 50% like healthcare based
Mm,
simulation. So like certain skills, like you have to give injections nearly every day of the week on the farm. Um, there'd be certain things, I suppose, from just yourself, like infection control protocols, making sure you're wearing gloves, cleaning your hands
yeah.
properly. Then, of course, there's the lambing side of things that you turn into like your own version of a midwife. And you see all different kinds of presentations and things go wrong there. But even simple things like planning stuff, I found definitely transfers. Like, obviously, when you're working with animals, you don't know what way they're going to think or what way they're going to react to things. So you always have to have a plan B and a
Mhm.
plan C and a plan D. And you nearly kind of have to have that with simulation as well. Like, look, this is the typical way we would run this sim. If the cameras fail, we need to do this. If the audio fails, we need to do this. If the mannequin fails, we need to do this. If all three fail, and the simulation still needs to go ahead, we need to do this. So it's,
Yeah.
you have to think a lot differently. But it is very good then for kind of transferring across to the sim tech job, that you feel like you're always prepared for something. Now that's not to say something doesn't come out of the woodwork and you're completely like, right, I've never seen this problem before, I have absolutely no idea what we're going to do. But you still have to get on with it.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to join all the dots now because we're here
Yeah.
to speak about something that you've created. Is that kind of why you've created what you've created?
um Part of it, I suppose, and then I would have like a particular interest in this kind of simulation and in kind of the health and safety piece around it as well, because ultimately, as simulation technicians, our goal is patient safety and to create an environment that is safer for our healthcare staff, our colleagues, our learners, and the patients at the end of the day. And I think this is something that wasn't really kind of looked at before, because there's so many different things to kind of consider. And if, like me, starting out, most of what you learn, you kind of learn as you go along. So there are a lot of kind of trial and error pieces in it, but I've kind of put it in writing now that it can help people mitigate some of those errors while still keeping everyone safe along the way.
Okay, so we won't keep the listeners in the dark too much.
Yeah.
What have you created?
So I have written a guidebook called the ABC Guide, which is a best practice guide in getting started in animal or biological component simulation. So it's probably mostly used when it comes to the likes of, say, your surgical skills, where you might be using animal tissue to learn how to do something like a bowel anastomosis or tendon repair, or even just, say, simple kind of suturing skills. But it's a start to finish guide on exactly what you need to take into consideration before you jump into starting to run some of these courses, because there are, as I mentioned, there's health and safety concerns, there can be legal concerns around it, and then there's all the kind of practical side of things as well that you mightn't necessarily consider, you know, at the time. So it just kind of helps you to get kind of a starting point from. And then it can also be used to kind of risk assess the different courses that you're going to do. We have some kind of blank templates for risk assessment guidelines that you can use, and then you can incorporate that into your centre's health and safety statement as well, and everything, as I said, that you'd need to consider to put into that statement too. So it helps people in a lot of different ways. I gets you thinking about certain things that you mightn't have thought about before, and it's all condensed down into about 30 pages.
Yeah, I mean, I've read it. I've gone through it a couple of times. It makes you think a lot about a lot of things that I've never really thought about, because we do a couple of things on sheep's larynxes and stuff
Yeah,
like that, and you know, it's the silly things that keep cropping up. It's like, where
mm,
are we going to keep them if we order them? What kind
yeah,
of storage, should
yeah,
we be using? And
yeah,
then what we're going to do with them at the end of the day.
yeah,
Can we just throw them in the bin? And does
yeah,
someone come and collect them? And do we
yeah,
need these special bags? And it answers a lot of those questions that, people will, we're all going through the same troubles.
yeah,
It's having actually a point of reference that someone's already gone through this. They've already troubleshooted it. They've already done a bit of research on it. And it's having a document there that tells you all this information, rather than having to go and scramble and find the
yeah,
answers yourself.
yeah.
And who did you do it with? Did you do it on your own?
For the most part, it was kind of myself and my own kind of experience. My boss, and she's head of the National Simulation Office in Ireland. Well, she's technically not my boss at the moment, but she's still around. Dara Byrne, so Professor Dara Byrne, and then we have kind of a research PhD lecturer, Cueva Madden, who helped do the kind of introduction background piece to it of the literature review. And then, of course, I would have had help along the way with my experience, and they're mentioned in the acknowledgement section. So I suppose the main person I'd like to acknowledge would be Miss Brahman Reed McDermott. So she is my sister, but she also would have given me kind of the opportunity first to start off in simulation, and I would work quite closely with her on the simulation skills side of things then as well. And then there's a couple of, say, consultants in the hospital that we would do a lot of simulation work with. So Miss Ashling Hogan, Miss Emily Nugent, and Professor Owen Slattery as well. So they've all been very, very good in the kind of trialing of different task trainers or simulators that we would have been making with animal tissue. And they're always very supportive of our centre as well. So just to give them an extra mention, because, I still, there's be certain parts that I wouldn't have been able to get through if it wasn't for them and their help as well. So I am very appreciative of that.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a touch of, when I was reading it, it did feel quite academic in points. And I was like, oh, a technician has wrote this. It's very heavily referenced. So, knowing that, it's probably like, it reads really well, and it flows.
Thank
What
you.
kind of challenges did you have when you was trying to do it?
I suppose, like, you could sit down and you could write what you think is a full chapter, and then you'll come back and you'll think, no, I'd like to move that now somewhere else. Or, do you know what? I thought of this other thing that I need to include. And then you think of that thing you need to include and you go, well, that could probably be a whole other chapter in itself.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of kind of moving different bits around while still trying to keep the content. And then you might find something else, even in just my working life normally, completely unrelated to the book. And I think, oh yeah, I must add that in. And you'd be trying to find somewhere to write it down so that you'd remember to put it in later. And I'm sure now if I even go back and look through it again, I'm like, oh yeah, I could add this and this and this in. So it was trying to make sure you had enough of everything in there, but there'd still be, you could still adapt it for any facility. Do you know that I wasn't keeping it too local to just our own facility or too applicable just to our own centre. I wanted it to be kind of broad that, as I said, anyone could adapt it for their courses or their centre. But I really enjoyed writing it and putting everything together. It was like a lot of work, and even just remembering to take photos sometimes of bits and pieces that you could add into it, especially when you're like putting together a simulator, because you're trying to, take off your gloves, make sure your hands are clean, pick up the phone, take the picture, put back on gloves, and then move on. So that was probably the most time
How long
consuming
how
part.
long do you reckon it took you?
The book altogether, I would have started it around maybe this time last year, and then it went to print about the first week of October. So however many months that is.
And do,
um,
do you know do you know of anyone who's using it and has give you any kind of feedback?
yeah, I've had a few people all right ask me for copies of it. There's one particular crowd in Ireland, they're setting up kind of a lab for testing kind of medical instruments. So they're hoping maybe to come and have a visit with us now at some stage in the year as well. And then there's a few of the simulation centres around the country as well that have, opted to use it. I've done up a feedback form that I'm hoping to kind of gather a bit of feedback now. I just didn't want to put it out straight away so that people had time to actually read it and maybe think if what they could implement. So I'm hoping to share that maybe within the next week or so. If I get enough kind of feedback that I could potentially, publish on it again, or maybe do another presentation at ASPE or something, because that's where this was launched this year. So yeah, see where it takes us. Maybe there could be a version 2 of the guide as well. Who knows?
Yeah. So you mentioned Aspie. Did you take it up into Edinburgh? Wasn't it?
I did, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So on the Tuesday, I had done a presentation in the morning on it, and
how was it received?
it seemed, yeah, quite well received. Obviously, at the time, it was, as I said, fresh off the press. I had gotten
Mm.
the delivery of them 2 days before I was due to fly over to Edinburgh. So um, it wasn't, I suppose, shared wide enough before that. But since then, I've put it in a few of the SimTech groups, and I've had a few people say from ASPE that saw the talk and emailed me about it to get a copy of the guide. And then there's a few local people within the hospital that have read it as well. So, say some people on the midwifery team in our place, they're hoping to do a few kind of skill sessions on, say, perennial tear repairs and stuff like that. So it's good. Like, if it helps one person, I think it's good. If it helps 100, even better. But I do think it is a good resource for people to have, and to give them some bit of inspiration and some bit of a start point on what they need to kind of consider before they go bringing any kind of tissue on site and stuff.
Yeah. What kind of sharing methods are there then? So if someone wanted to get hold of this, what's the best way of them getting hold of it?
Best way to get hold of it at the moment is to probably email me. So my email address is ambyr, AMBYR, .reid at universityofgalway.ie, and I'm happy to share it there. I've also given the PDF version of it to Chris Gay. He's on the ASPE TechSig.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to look at, I know they launched the Beaker Health platform there at ASPE this year as well, so I'm going to look at putting it up on that and having a link to the PDF document and maybe just doing a quick walkthrough on slides of the guide as well. I also have hard copies as well. I don't have a huge amount of them left, but we are hoping to get more printed. So if anyone really wanted a hard copy of it, then more than welcome to send me an email, send me your address, and I'll post it out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen it on the WhatsApp group, and I was looking at what the other methods are for sharing it, and maybe like a link on a shared drive or something would be
Yeah.
brilliant that you could put onto places. Because so, for instance, someone that's not part of the national WhatsApp group from maybe from the States or something that wanted to get hold of it,
Yeah.
but like I say, we'll definitely put your contact information in the episode description. So if
Perfect.
someone
Thank you.
wanted to get hold of it, they could just send you an email, or
Yeah.
myself. We'll definitely share that information.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Brill. All right. Well, thank you very much, Amber, for coming on and having a little bit of a chat about it.
Perfect.
Hope you're already successful, because I know I've used it already. So you've helped you one person.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
so that's your little goal gone now. So now we just got to get to 100 people.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses in the future. So
Thank you very much.
thank you very much,
Yeah.
Amber.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
And that wraps up this episode of the SimTech podcast. A huge thank you to Amber for sharing her insights on the ABC guide and the world of animal and biological component simulation. If you find this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow SimTechs. If you've got any questions or a topic you'd like us to cover, please get in touch. Until next time, keep innovating and pushing the boundaries of simulation. See you soon.